WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects: mathematics, English language, physics, chemistry, and biology, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates on this station. Learners can also connect with Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.
It's another beautiful class time. Welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. In today's class, we will be learning phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs. What are they? How are they used? How are they made up? And of course, what do they mean? Let's get right in.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
Phrasal verbs. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to analyze the meaning of phrasal verbs based on their usage. Tell the types of phrasal verbs. Correctly order phrasal verbs in sentences. And lastly, use phrasal verbs in sentences. What are phrasal verbs? They are verbal compounds usually made up of a verb and a preposition and or an adverb. A verb, a preposition, and or an adverb. The preposition or adverb is usually placed after the verb, and various meanings are gotten from the combinations. It is important to note that the meaning of these phrasal verbs are usually not easily deduced from their regular meanings. So you need to learn phrasal verbs in their own right. Just like you would learn the meaning of idioms, you need to learn the meaning of phrasal verbs. Remember, phrasal verbs are formed by verb plus preposition and or adverb. What does this mean? Your phrasal verb can be made up of a verb and a preposition. It can be made up of a verb and an adverb, and it can be made up of a verb, a preposition, and an adverb. Based on these, we can have, of course, these three realizations as I just mentioned. The Cambridge Dictionary says that the phrasal verb is a phrase that consists of a verb with a preposition and an adverb. Okay, let's move right on. Types of phrasal verbs. We will be looking at these four types: transitive phrasal verbs, intransitive phrasal verbs, separable phrasal verbs, and inseparable phrasal verbs. What are transitive phrasal verbs? Just like the normal transitive verb, a transitive phrasal verb can be identified by its demand for an object. Let's look at the examples here. It was not possible for Vina to do away with all of it as they brought back so many memories of the past. I'll take that again. It was not possible for Vina to do away with all of it as they brought back so memories So many memories from the past. What is our phrasal verb here? We have do, away, and with. Remember, we have three realizations of the phrasal verb. Verb plus adverb, verb plus preposition, verb plus preposition plus adverb. Where does this fall? Of course, it falls on the third one. Do, verb, away, what is it? Okay, that's a preposition. And then we have with, which is an adverb. Look at the second example. Can you fill in the required details so that we can move forward with the screening process? Can you fill in? Fill in is the phrasal verb here. Remember, phrasal verbs always come in pairs. Either two, or they come as three different words, and we already know their realizations. Fill in here means to write something or to fill a form, to fill up a space or something. Okay, can you fill in? So it's not what fill means and what in means. It has its own meaning, and that's why it's a phrasal verb, and their meanings must be learned in their own right. Look at the intransitive phrasal verb. Here, the phrasal verbs behave exactly like intransitive verbs. Look at the example. My car broke down all of a sudden while driving through that section. Okay, this should be that. My car broke down all of a sudden while driving through that section. Broke down. Okay, what does it mean for a car to break down? It stopped. So we could say my car stopped. For something to break, of course, means it divides into two. And for something to go down means, of course, it leaves the normal level or the regular level. That is not what the words mean here. They have another meaning, and that means to stop working, to stop functioning in this context. Broke down here is a phrasal, it's an intransitive phrasal verb. It has been years since we met. We should definitely catch up. Catching up means what? See the person after a long time, chat over something, and so on. Catch up here is an intransitive phrasal verb. Now to the third type of phrasal verb, we have separable phrasal verbs. And what are they? They include transitive phrasal verbs which have the characteristic property of separating the phrasal verb with the object. Just like the transitive phrasal verb, the difference here is that the separable phrasal verb, the objects being discussed in the sentence structure, comes in between the first part of the phrasal verb and the other part of the phrasal verb. See the example here. I am not the kind of person who holds all of this against you. I am not the kind of person who holds all of this against you. The phrasal verb is holds against. However, the object, which is what is being discussed about, which takes the action of the verb, is what? All of this. And what happens? All of this comes in between holds and against. That's why we say it's a separable phrasal verb, which is an offshoot of what? The transitive phrasal verb. Okay? Look at the second example. Dhiraj is the one who is taking care of the applications for gold loan. Can you please hand it over to him? It here is the object. Hand over is the phrasal verb. Because it's a separable phrasal verb, of course, the object comes in between the first part and the other part of the phrasal verb, and then we have hand it. Okay? And then we have the fourth type of phrasal verb, which is the inseparable phrasal verb. Here, inseparable phrasal verb, as the name suggests, cannot be separated from each other and have to be used together no matter what. For example, you would have to account for all the losses that have been incurred. Account for. Account verb for. What part of speech is for? You know, it's either a preposition or an adverb. Which is it? Of course, an adverb. Harish was asked to check out of the hotel before 9 p.m. To check out means to leave or to vacate a place or to vacate a premises. Okay, that's our inseparable phrasal verb. This type of phrasal verbs, the object of the verb cannot come in between the phrasal verbs. Let's move on. How do we use phrasal verbs? How do we use phrasal verbs? When using phrasal verbs in daily communication, the word order and conjugation must be put into consideration. You must put these two things into consideration. Number one, the word order. Number two, the conjugation. When the phrasal verb is used as a main verb, you have to conjugate the verb alone according to the respective tense and not change the preposition in the phrasal verb. Conjugating the verb means you're using the right tense of that particular verb as it fits that sentence. When you are conjugating a phrasal verb, only the verb is acted on. Every other part of the phrasal verb, which might be the adverb or the preposition, is not acted on. Nothing is done to those ones. Like it stays in its original form. However, when we conjugate a phrasal verb, conjugation only affects the verbs. Now let's look at the examples. Amina dropped out of school due to her illness. The original rendition of this phrasal verb is the word drop out. However, we say that we can when using phrasal verbs in daily communication, the word order and conjugation must be put into consideration. Word order and conjugation. In this place, we have to change the tense of the verb drop to dropped. So the conjugation affects only the verb and not the other parts of the phrasal verb. Look at the second example. My friend Carrier had broken up with her boyfriend last month. My friend Carrier had broken up with her boyfriend last month. Broken up. The original rendition of this phrasal verb is break up. But for the purpose of this sentence, we conjugate and it becomes broken up. Up still remains the same. Nothing changes. But the verb takes another form. The security guard asked around the whole building to know whose car was parked right in front of the gate. The security guard asked around. Asked around. Around, still there, a preposition doesn't change. However, ask around is the original and we have asked being conjugated. Note that in the above sentences, the prepositions remain the same, of course. Whereas the verbs dropped in 1, asked in 2, and broken in 3 have been conjugated in the simple past form. Let's move on. Using the right word order. Remember, in the use of phrasal verbs, word order is important and conjugation is important. We have looked at conjugation. How about the word order? Word order comes into the picture mainly when you are attempting to split up the phrasal verbs. Note that intransitive phrasal verbs and inseparable phrasal verbs, as we discussed earlier, have to be used together. They have to be used together. The verb and the preposition should go next to each other. Okay, with separable and transitive phrasal verbs, they can have a direct object to complete them. Their phrasal verbs can be separated by putting the direct object in between the verb and the preposition. We have, every phrasal verb must have a verb, of course. So the direct object comes between the verb and the preposition. Okay, it comes to split them. Let's look at the example. Remember, examples are the pillars for explanation. Let's look at this example here. Kate let me down when she did not show up for my court hearing. Kate let me down when she did not show up for my court hearing. What's the phrasal verb here? Let down. Beautiful. What is the verb, the direct object that splits the phrasal verb? Me. Our subject here is Kate. The object is me, and me comes between the phrasal verb. Okay, so we have let down. Some phrasal verbs will always require to be separated by the direct object in between them before they make sense. So there are some type of phrasal verbs, let down, where it depends on the sentence where you're using it. She was let down by her friends. Okay, that's a situation where you don't need to split this phrasal verb. However, there are some sentences, for them to make meaning, you need to split the phrasal verbs. In splitting the phrasal verbs, maintain the appropriate word order. Examples of phrasal verbs. Look at these examples here. Be sure to put on a life jacket before getting into the boat. Be careful. Be sure to put on a life jacket before getting into the boat. Put on is our phrasal verb here. We let out the trash for pickup. Left out. Number 3, we have the phrasal verb get on. To enter, to board a plane, but we can use the phrasal verb get on. What will she think up next? Think up. Okay, I'm having some trouble working out the solution to this equation. Working out. Another phrasal verb, you can say solving, okay? We are going to have to put off our vacation until next year. Put off, postpone, right? Stand up when speaking in class, please, okay? We'll have to wake up early if we want breakfast. Get up or get out of bed early. All of those are synonymous expressions you can use for that. Take off your shoes before you walk on the carpet. My dog likes to break out of his kennel to chase squirrels. All of these put in bold are examples of phrasal verbs. I hope you're learning and you're taking notes. Here are more examples of phrasal verbs. Back down, blow up, break down, bring up. I brought up the child. What happened there? I conjugated bring. It became brought. To say that I trained the child or I raised the child. Brought up. However, the original word is bring up. We have bump into. We have call off. We have check on, check out, check with, come across, do away, and so many others. There are hundreds of them. Now let's check our understanding while we take these questions. Instruction says fill in the blanks by choosing the most appropriate phrasal verbs from the list of phrasal verbs. We have the list of phrasal verbs here. Okay, conjugate them to suit the tense. So there are places where you might need to conjugate your phrasal verb. You have about 30 seconds to get this done. Okay, now let's look at the answers to this. I'm sure you've tried doing them. Make sure you dash of the hotel at the right time, else they will charge you extra. What would our answer be? Of course, check out. Okay. Number 2, Livin was asked to dash for Suresh. What would our answer be? The most appropriate answer here would be hold on. Okay? I hope you've done the third and fourth one as well. Let's see if your answers are correct. Dash the whole itinerary before you make a decision. What would your answer be? Stand for, narrow down, hold on, run into, check out, go through. Go through. Okay, the whole itinerary before you make a decision. Tom and Jerry dash after their last meeting. What's your answer? Tom and Jerry stand for, narrow down, hold on, run into, check out, go through, fall apart, pull off, hold against. Don't forget, you might need to conjugate the verb of that phrasal verb. Tom and Jerry, we could say Tom and Jerry checked out. We're conjugating check out now. Okay? Checked out after their last meeting. Look at number 5. Please dash for a minute. I forgot to take my car keys. Please hold on for a minute. I forgot to take my car keys. Did you get all the answers correctly? Well done.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
For questions, comments, and feedback, visit the social media handles displayed on the screen. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Acing your WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects: mathematics, English language, physics, chemistry, and biology, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates on this station. Learners can also connect with Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.